Hello and good day, investors. Today we'll be looking at how to invest $100 for beginners. Now, before I get into the video, if you haven't checked out my channel before, I talk about investing, I talk about the stock market, stuff like that. So definitely if you're a beginner investor, and I'm assuming you are if you're watching this video, definitely head over to my channel, check out some of my videos, and if you like what you're seeing, definitely hit that subscribe button. But other than that, getting onto the video, this $100 portfolio per se consists of a lot of stocks that are a bit cheaper. Most of them are under $10-15 or so, mainly because you obviously don't have a lot of capital to choose from stocks with, so it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to put a stock like Microsoft on this list, because that would comprise almost 3/4 of your total portfolio, so that's not a very good way to invest. But anyways, getting on to the video, the first stock I'll be talking about today that I would recommend for beginner investors is right here, GLAD, Gladstone Capital, at $9.25. It's obviously very affordable, and one good thing about this stock as well is that it has a monthly dividend and a very high dividend of yield of 10.33. So if you're new to investing, you might not know what that means. Glad has a monthly dividend as well as a very high dividend, so 10 is pretty high. Some may see that as risky, but Glad has a good history of that, so it may not be very risky. But as you can see right here, it says number of shares. I had 7, amount per share 7 cents. So it gives me 7 cents per share every single month. Just to clarify that for beginner investors, because that's really who this video is for. As you can see, over the past couple of years or so, Gladstone's been all right. It's actually been down a little bit recently, so that does offer up a pretty good buy-in point for it. If you don't know anything about Gladstone Capital, it's a business development company, so not a very well-known company by any means unless you're in the investing world, so you might not actually know this name, but it is a good stock for beginner investors who don't have a whole lot of capital, and you're guaranteed at least a 10% return from the stock a year because of that high dividend yield. But anyways, moving on to the next stock, and just so you know, these stocks aren't actually in any particular order, they're just kind of at random here. But the next stock right here is Twitter, TWTR, and obviously if you're a new investor, you're probably young, so you most likely use Twitter and know what Twitter is. Twitter actually currently, if you probably didn't know this if you're a new investor, but currently isn't very profitable, and by that I mean they're not making more money than they're spending each year. But that is probably going to change in the future. Twitter is a relatively new stock still right here. They've been a bit stagnant over the past couple of years or so. But I believe that they're going to find a way to increase their ad revenue and stuff like that, because honestly, people are using it a lot. And I think Twitter's still very big. Their user growth is still around the same, but it still is growing from the information I've seen. So Twitter still has a lot of upside, and it's definitely a competitor to other companies like Facebook, but it obviously hasn't seen the same growth, but is more affordable. And you obviously know what Twitter is, and the saying you should invest in what you know. I think that's particularly important about young people, because they obviously might not know a lot of stocks and might not know what are the best stocks to invest in or anything like that. So I think Twitter could be a good investment, and honestly it's only $17 or $18 or so it's not like you'd be taking a huge hit if it continues to go down. Moving on to the next stock I'll be talking about, I actually have in my portfolio as well, is Ford F right here. And if you take a look at Ford, this is more of a defensive play right here. Ford is a automobile manufacturer. Obviously, if you haven't heard of Ford, it's a pretty well-known company. You should have heard of Ford before. Been around forever. They have a good dividend yield as well at almost 5%, so that obviously helps the stock price as well. And like I said before, this company is definitely a blue chip stock, so it's just kind of a solid defensive stock to have in your portfolio, just in case the market goes down or something like that. It's a pretty solid stock that also has a good dividend yield. Anyways, moving on to the next stock here is, if we look up here, I don't actually own the stock in my portfolio currently, but I am looking to in maybe the near future, is AMD, Advanced Micro Devices right here. AMD's been going up and down quite a bit over the past couple of months or so, but that's just because it's just a hot stock recently. It's had massive volume, over the past year or so. But AMD, I played around with some swing and trade swinging day trading with it before. Advanced Micro Devices is a global semiconductor company that develops computer processes and related technologies for business and consumer markets. You may have heard this company, but if you're an investor, you almost definitely have heard of this company before. Basically, what they do is, in your phone and laptops and just any smart devices, there's little chips and stuff like that, and they basically are the ones who make these chips. But overall, it's a decent company. If you look at some of its stats right here, it's currently not profitable, so that's why probably why it's at such a low price right now, but they have been going up. I definitely think semiconductors are going to be huge in the next few years or so. Not that they're already not huge, but I think they're definitely going to be a growing market at increasingly high rates. Anyways, moving on. So the next stock right here is GoPro, another cheap stock under $12 as well. GoPro, if you're a new investor, you probably heard of them before. Pretty well-known stock. It's actually at a pretty high price right now, though. That's the only problem with this stock. I'm up 42% on the stock, as you can see right here, but it's gone up quite a bit in the past month or so, up almost 40%. So, but as you can see in the year and 5 year, another company is not profitable as well, but another cheap, decent stock that potentially could see a lot of growth because of how low it's at right now. Moving on to the next stock is Wendy's, WEN, right here. Up a bit on Wendy's. Wendy's, pretty well-known stock as well. Not necessarily considered a blue chip stock, but I believe it has the potential to be one in the next few years or so. Up on the year, up on the 5 year, quite a bit. This is a pretty solid growth stock right here. It's one of the restaurant/fast food stocks that are quite cheap. I know there are other stocks like McDonald's and some could consider Starbucks or Yum Brands, companies like that, but they are particularly expensive for the new investor. And as you can see, decent P/E ratio, decent dividend yield as well, not too high, but still has a dividend yield there. Anyways, moving on to the next company is actually I have this one in my portfolio as well. If we scroll way down, is APLE, which is not actually Apple, who makes iPhones and MacBooks and stuff like that. This is actually a different Apple Hospitality, REIT, and REIT is Real Estate Investment Trust. So it's basically just a real estate company for those who don't know what REITs are, basically. But our Apple Hospitality, headquartered in Richmond, firm functions as a real estate investment trust. So like I said, just a real estate company right here. And the thing that's good about this stock in particular is that it also has monthly dividends and has a pretty high dividend yield at 6%, 6.01, and good P/E ratio. Pretty solidly sized company, 4.18 billion market cap. As you can see, over the past year and 5 year, it has been up. Relatively new stock though, but it has been up, so it's had decent growth, and that dividend yield, you really can't go wrong with that. Moving on to the last stock, which I also own a share of, is Fitbit, Fitbit right here. Fitbit's kind of a newer company. I believe it came out pretty recently, 2007, only 10 years old right here. So this company is very new. I really like Fitbit. I really like smartwatches in general, but Fitbit, like a couple of these other companies, currently isn't profitable, but I expect them to be profitable in the next couple of years or so. As you can see, I am up quite a bit on Fitbit, up 17%, so that's not bad either. Even though they haven't had the greatest growth over the past year and 5 year, they are up recently, and I could definitely see their sales increasing. A lot of people were kind of critical of the Apple Watch, and the new Fitbit people actually liked a lot. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that, with the sales numbers and everything. But I really like Fitbit. I think everyone's going to own a smartwatch. I don't agree with this news article right here. Essentially now owns the entire high-end smartwatch market. Definitely don't think that's true at all. But Fitbit Ionic, definitely a good watch. Have to see how the sale numbers end up with that. I'll definitely keep my eye out for that. But other than that, guys, that's it. I think this tops the portfolio out at like $95 or something like that. So obviously you could buy another share. I'm assuming, you might not be investing exactly $100. So if it's a little less, a little more, that's why I put it at this amount. So if you have a little over 100, you could buy another one of these stocks. I would probably buy either Glad or APLE simply because they have that good monthly dividend yield, so you can keep reinvesting that. But or you could just try out with some penny stocks, or just keep it as cash and wait to see if one of these stocks drop to buy it in at a better point. Another thing obviously is that not all these stocks might be at the best buying point. Someone like GoPro's been up 40% over the past 3 months, so that's definitely not the greatest buying point. So you might want to buy some stocks that are more down in the recent months or year or two or whatever. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I try to make this portfolio friendly to the new investors so that they can kind of get an idea what these stocks were. Try to use some well-known names as well as some not known names. I try to diversify it a little bit, not all in the same sector. Some of them are, I mean, there's only 2 or 3. It's not every single sector in the market, obviously, but it's kind of hard to find a solid, cheap healthcare stock under $10 or a solid, cheap utility stock under $10 because I was looking through those sectors and they're really more risky. But other than that, guys, that's really it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said before, if you haven't checked out my channel, I talk about investing, I talk about the stock market, stuff like that. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, definitely head over onto my channel and check it out. But other than that, thanks for watching.